So the nice thing about this evening's class is we're actually starting seated, the block, which is all you'll need in terms of props, and really can sit any way that is comfortable to you. If you are able to get heel to heel, then your shins can come to the floor, and then basically you've got this nice big foundation to sit on. It's much easier to sit upright. And the use of the block kind of just tilts you forward a little bit, makes it again just a little bit more accessible for our Western hips, where we spend a lot of time stuck at desks or standing. So just taking a moment really to start to play around with the shoulders. We're going to work those quite hard today. So we'll just take some simple shoulder strokes, nice and slow, see how the shoulders feel, noticing whether they are smooth and silently running or whether they're a bit gritty and clunky, whether those are circles or squares with round edges. And using the time as well to slow the breath down a little bit. So just becoming a little bit more aware of how our body feels at the end of this week and the end of the day. And as ever, we take these classes at your own pace, as many pit stops as you need, if any. Add variations in if you want to do something different to the pose that I've asked. And above all else, if it hurts, don't do it. Allow yourself to come back out of the pose. It's not worth pushing yourself so much that you're gritting your teeth and holding your breath. Or just roll the shoulders around a few times in the opposite direction and notice whether that feels any different. Sometimes it can be a little bit subtle, sometimes a difference, sometimes it can be very noticeable. I sometimes find that chest muscles definitely tell me something's happening differently. Get the last one of those. And we'll just wave the arms out slowly, nice and wide, surface stretch. I'm going to bring the right arm across and lock with the opposite arm and draw the shoulder round. Keeping the chest pointing forward, but just drawing the shoulder as far around as I gently can. And we'll release. And open out again so we can take the opposite arm across. And then we'll release those as well. Just going to bring the hands gently onto the collarbones, elbows together. So a couple of angel wings, just easing the elbows up, rolling back. Trying to squeeze the elbows together back there. Drawing the elbows together again. So a little bit of articulation through the shoulders and a little bit of extension and flexion through the spine, particularly the upper back. I release from there, untangle the legs, and I'm going to move on to all fours, moving my block out towards the front of the mat. Making sure my hands are underneath the shoulders, moving into cat-cow. And come back into neutral. I'm going to take my right arm out to the side. Inhale, just opening the chest. And then bringing the hand back gently to the floor. Taking the opposite side out, inhaling up. And plenty of rotation through the spine. Hands come back down. I'll take it to the opposite side. And coming back. I'm going to sit down onto the heels. Knees relatively close together. And taking the hands just above the head. I'm going to interlace the fingers. I'm actually going to make like a hula hoop or a halo above the head. Just gently rolling the shoulders around. See again how they feel. And kind of drop the shoulders down behind me rather than letting them climb up to my ears. And seeing how far back I can let the hands go behind. So again, just getting a little bit of rotation in the shoulders, playing around with the shoulder blades themselves. And getting a little bit of an opening into the ribs, the pectorals. We'll go the opposite way. And then we'll let the hands come down. So come down to the floor, I'll take the knees wide. I'm going to walk out into child's pose. So I'm going to come up onto the fingertips, letting the forehead touch the ground. Looking towards the hands. I'm going to move that into a side bend, taking it over towards my right side. Trying to keep the hands still, that sort of shoulder distance apart, resting the ribs on the side. We'll look towards the hands again to walk them over to the opposite side. Looking into the muscles, side to side of the spine. The little muscles link the vertebrae together through tendons. And then I'll lift again to look towards the front of the mat. Going to lift the haunches up and come down onto the elbows. And elbows underneath the shoulders. I'm going to interlace the fingers gently and then take the legs out. Into an elbow plank. Try and lower the hips to the same height as the shoulders. First of all, you want to make sure that your shoulders are over your elbows. If they're ahead, you tend to collapse down. It gets harder in the arms. We're strong through the legs. We'll take a little breath and see if we can lift the right foot just a few inches off the ground. Release that foot with it to the floor. We'll take the opposite leg up. Now, try not to roll off the center line too much. So push out through the heels, strong legs. Bring that foot down. We'll cross over to the other side. And come down. We'll go to the second side again. And down. We'll go to the one last time. And bring that foot down to the last side. And bring the foot down. We'll let the knees come back down underneath again. Release the fingers. It'll run through the shoulders and then fingertips into the front of the mat. We'll move into down dog. And from down dog, we'll just float gently into a plank. The shoulders over wrist. Move back carefully. And then come forward when you're ready. And easing back. We'll come forward one more time. And turkey ourselves back. And then we're going to take the left knee in towards the chest. We'll come forward, try and tap the knee to the nose. Go back into the dog. Pull the right knee in. Come forward into the plank. Effort to touch knee to nose, back into dog. Left leg comes in. Coming forward. Nice rounded spine. Into dog. We'll go with the first leg again. Coming through. And back. The left leg comes in. Coming through. And back. Now we're going to take the right leg in for the last time. And gently back. Now we'll take the left knee to the left elbow as he comes through. And back into dog. We'll change that to the right. And back. We'll go to the left. Into dog. We'll go to the right. We'll go to the left. Last time. We'll go to the right. And then down to the knees. We're going to take the feet out to the side. And go down to the floor. Hands behind. Knees high. Once you arrive, we'll bring the knees together and bring them directly above the hips. As parallel to the floor, as both pointed out. It means I lace the fingers very lightly around the back of the skull. Now you need to draw your lower back and your belly into the ground. We want to try and get that to touch. And the elbows touching the floor out to the side. We're going to cross over into a crunch. We're going to take the right elbow, the left knee, keeping that left elbow on the ground. We'll extend the right leg out 45 degrees. So you can actually use your big toe as a little bit of a guide. You slide out, so your legs stay in the center. You can actually press against it a little bit. Just rolling yourself gently up. So we're not pulling with the head. We are going full sort of range of motion through that. We'll take the last one. And then let the feet just easily come back down to the ground. Hands on the side, we just rock out through the hip. Put hands around, loosely around the back of the head, so I'm not interlacing the fingers this time. I'll ease the spinning towards the chest. And we're coming into half boat. So we draw the belly down, get a little bit of lift and stuff. Up towards the side, nice and slowly. I'll take the hands forward, bring the knees together, extend the legs out, just following the line of the body with the legs, and then slowly lowering down, squeezing the thighs together a little bit of internal rotation. Come back out, we'll lift the legs, almost vertical, take the hands around the back of the head, roll the spine and head eventually to the floor, and we'll lower the legs carefully back down to the floor. Taking the hands out to the side, a little rock from side to side. I'll do that once more because it's fun. Bring the hands around the back of the head, take a breath in, draw the belly down so we get that connection to make the spine straight. Into chest, breath in. Use your exhale to curl, so we're not pulling on the head at all. Get the hands forward, squeeze the thighs together, extend the legs out, following the line of the thigh. And then we come back down again slowly, just bringing the toes as close as we can to in line with your eyes. Legs back up again, squeeze the chest into the thighs as well. You can take the hands past the legs, and then we'll bring the hands back behind the head. Roll the spine down. And we'll draw the knees in towards the chest as we release. So going to rock a little from side to side. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to take a breath in, use the exhale to roll to the right side. Legs come down, hands underneath, press away from the floor. We'll come back up to sitting, and I'm going to spin the feet towards the back of the mat. So come again onto all fours. I'm going to take a little breath from there, extend out the left and the right leg into a plank. I want to have the feet relatively close together. I'm actually going to roll onto the side edge, initially taking myself over to the left. So I can take the right hand high. And then I'm going to see if I can bring the top leg foot on top of the opposite leg so they're stacked. Take a little breath from there. I'm going to slide the top heel in towards the groin. Drop the hand down. I'm going to try to allow myself to come into tree shape with the legs, and then release the hand back up to the sky. And I'll release the leg back out slowly. Coming back into the plank. Take a breath. Over to the opposite side. Make yourself to stack the legs. When you're ready, we'll slide the foot in. Just resting the heel into the groin. Try to remember to breathe. Everyone's the best. I'm going to lengthen the leg out and back into the plank. We'll walk the hands up into a down dog. Stretch that out. And we're going to take the feet towards the toes. Tiny little steps, just incrementally walking in 2 inches at a time. So raising the hips high. The shoulders should be nicely warmed up. This is a little bit more for your lower back and your hamstrings. We'll come into the front edge. Bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees and flat back. The lift on the exhale. Bring the hands into the heart. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, soften the knees folding down, hinging from the hip. Fingertips on the floor as you bow in deep, taking the left foot to the back of the mat into a long lunge. Take the left hand to the floor so I can bring the right hand into a twist, just turning the chest in towards the thigh. I bring the hand back down, drop the back heel in, going to cartwheel to warrior two. Inhale the hands high. Extend slowly out towards the front of the mat. Bring the hands down. Ease my way into down dog. So giving myself a chance to really move into the sort of full shape of the pose. A couple of breaths here, drawing the belly in. And then on the inhale of your next breath, we come forward into the plank, using the exhale to lower into half plank, and then taking an inhale for your up dog as you roll your shoulders back, nice strong legs, stepping or rolling over the feet to your down dog. And we'll scissor the left leg high, draw the knee in towards the chest, bringing it through for a lunge. Taking a breath, and we'll step forwards into the fold. Just landing with the feet parallel to each other, hands over the hips, and we'll lift up. Hands into the heart again as we take the breath in. And soften the knees, exhaling down. Taking a breath. And sending the right foot back into the lunge. Right hand to the floor, so the left hand lifts into the twist. Squeeze the thigh and the chest together. Bring the hands back to the floor, drop the heel in. Ready to the warrior two lift. Taking the hands high, out towards the front of the mat and down. Stepping it back into our down dog again. We'll take a few breaths here. So if you're comfortable in your down dog, it can be a little bit of a rest. Knowing that we're going to take a few breaths here, you could always drop into child's pose quickly if you wanted to. So we're ready to come back in. Inhale to our plank. Half plank. Up dog. Rolling it back. Using those hips and core to lift. We'll scissor the right leg high. Knee to chest and foot through the center. Stepping into the fold on the exhale. Hands over the hips. Lift up. Hands into the heart. A long breath in. Hinge the knees, allow yourself to exhale down. Take a breath in. Send the left foot back. We're going to bring the hands onto the front thigh. We'll let ourselves lift up. We're finding our balance point, hands to the side. Put hands high, make fists. Draw the elbows wide. We'll actually arch the back a little bit. Let the hands come back up, nice and gently. Using the balance today. Down to the floor, stepping back into down dog. Again, a few breaths here to rest. And then we'll take that long breath in. Come forwards into the half. Use the breath in for the up. Rolling over, we're back to down dog. We'll scissor the left leg high. Draw the knees through. Take a breath. Step it forwards gently. Hands to the hips. Let ourselves lift up. Hands to the heart. So one last side to play with. Long breath in. Soften the knees, exhaling down. So we're sending the right leg back into the lunge. We'll bring the hands onto the thigh again to lift up gently. Hands by the side of the body so we get nice and vertical. We'll draw the hands up, arms facing in, then fists, elbows out to the side. Get the eyes lift towards the sky a little bit. Get the hands back up, out towards the front of the mat. We're stepping back into our down dog. Deep breath here. And coming forwards, plank, half plank and up dog. Take a breath in. Scissor on your right leg high. Putting your knees through on your exhale. Into the front of the mat. And take a little breath. Step it forward. Hands over the hip. And we'll lift up. We'll put the arms out wide this time, inhaling. Hands to the heart, soften the knees, long spine, come back down. We're taking a breath and sending the left foot back. And dropping the knee, we'll untuck the toes. We'll take that right hand forwards, lift up. Allow ourselves to look towards the back of the mat. See if we can see our foot back there somewhere. Draw it in, find the toes. Lift the chest a little if you roll down. Make the grab. Fine if you did. And we're released. Get the hands over the top. Back into down dog. And coming forwards into the plank. A half plank and up dog. On the inhale, we scissor the left leg high. Into chest and through. Take a little breath. And step it forwards. Hands over the hips and slow lift. Get the arms wide again on the inhale. Hands through the heart and exhale down to the floor. This time, I'm taking a breath in to send the right leg back. Knee to the floor. Hand to the ground just to stabilize. Left hand comes up. Get into the rotation. Start to look down the center line of the mat towards the back. You can usually see your foot somewhere out there. And it makes it so much easier when you lift. If you actually caught your eye. It's that eye-hand coordination, making it a lot easier. Now we'll let the hand come over again. Lifting back into our down dog. Couple of breaths to settle in. And inhaling into the plank, half plank and up dog. And rolling back. Scissor on the right leg high. Knee to chest and through. Taking a breath. Stepping into the fold. Hands onto the hip. Lift. Then hands high again on the inhale. Hands through the heart. Exhaling down. Take a breath. And then send your left foot back into the lunge. We're going to lift into warrior two. Just as we've done before, but this time we'll move into reverse warrior. So taking a reverse bind if you can, as you reach over. We'll straight away come back to warrior two. So that's the side angles. So lengthen it out. Bringing the hand down, top hand high. Take a breath. We'll stretch the top arm out to the front of the mat and down to the floor we come, hands onto the inside of the front leg. We'll walk the fingers to the long side, turning the toes in, so about our wide leg forward bend, pressing into the floor a little bit. Allow ourselves to hinge from the hips as we come down. We'll inhale, on the way back up. So only stand there for a breath to walk the fingers around to the front of the mat. Now we're just going to take the block, turn it on its side edge, take the hands out as far as we can, and we're going to push from here to warrior three. So just leaning into the front leg, lifting the back foot slowly from the floor, pressing down through the hands into the block. The blocks, generally if you're using foam ones, they're not 100% steady, which is ideal because that makes us work a little harder. Press out through that heel. Trying to keep the legs straight, parallel to the ground, down the center line. Being conscious of where your leg is hanging rather than just letting it be in a little bit of air up there by itself. Last breath in. Stop from the front knee. Then drop the back foot into the lunge, scoot into a forward bend while still holding on to the block. As I release, I'll bring the hands under the hips, soft knees, and let myself lift back up. So we'll do that again. Second side, hands high, hands into the heart. Exhaling down, taking a breath. We'll send right leg back and drop the heel in, open up into our warrior two. And straight into that reverse warrior. And again, warrior two, extending out over the front thigh and down to the floor. So just bracing that arm and leg together a little bit, pushing the hips over towards the right side in this case. Breath in, and we'll extend that top arm out, center line of the mat. And then bring the hand down to the floor, so both hands on the inside. Walk fingers around alongside, just as we did last time, turning the toes in, on the fingertips to take the breath. Holding down, pressing into the legs, squeezing the groins together a little bit. Inhaling on the way back up. Walking the hands around to the front of the mat. Hopefully there's a block still out there. Take a little breath. Bring up the back foot, lean into the front leg. Lift it up. Square the hips. Get the body nice and long. Keep the head in line with your torso. And muscles drawn in. Be careful not to press into the back of the knee on the standing leg. So you want to press down. I know that can be a bit wobbly, especially if the hamstrings are a bit tight for some of us. Last breath in. Soften the front knee into the lunge. Let the fingers come to the floor. Hip into the forward bend. Take a little breath. Hands over the hips. And we'll lift up. We'll take the legs out just a little bit. I'm going to move down about halfway of my mat and have my feet a nice distance apart and parallel to each other. I'll take the hands out in front, palms facing down. So I just want to have the hands in line with the shoulders. Lift up onto the tiptoes. I'm going to soften down till I think my buttocks have reached alignment with my knees. Then I'm going to see if I can lift the hands up, turning the palms in. So bringing the hands directly above the shoulders, keeping the belly drawn in. And I'll drive through the legs to lift up. Let the heels come down, get the arms out wide. And take out the legs again. Wriggle through the neck and the shoulders so I can get a little bit tight. Make sure I've got enough room behind and in front. So if you're a bit short of space and you've got a long body, you might need to move around the room a little bit. We're going to take a little breath, soften the knees just a fraction. And I'm going to lean the weight into the right leg. I'm going to take the left leg forwards just a little bit. And then I'm going to scoot that back, hinging from the hips. So I'm going to come into warrior three. Again, but this time coming from a standing position. And then I slowly drop the back foot towards the back of the mat. Stepping forwards again, and just wiggling the legs out a little bit, especially standing in the ankle. Relax the shoulders if they got tight. So the more you can press out through the heel of the lifted leg, the lighter that leg's going to feel, trust me. Bring the hands in towards the heart, we'll lean slowly into the opposite leg. So this time right leg comes forwards, but is already sort of pre-flexed. As it hinges past, we're tempted to hinge from the hips slowly and raise the back leg. And take our time coming into that nice T position, a little bit of a bend in the standing leg needed. And then softening the back foot to the floor behind us so we can step back in again and just take out the legs a little as we arrive. Keep the arms nice and wide on the inhale. Bring your hands through the heart and exhale down to the floor. And take the hands forwards and the feet back into down dog. And allow the feet to rest on the center line at the back of the mat. Going to come into pigeon pose, so I'm going to draw the left knee towards the body, then take that knee to the outside of the left wrist, get under the groin, walk the foot away, get the hips as low as I can. I'll come to the fingertips, press the tailbone down, draw the belly in a little bit, square the hips a little more towards the front of the mat, rolling the shoulders back. There's a lot to think about, as well as keeping your joints for your knees and your hips and your discs and your lower back safe as well. So a lot to think about, a lot to feel. And then I bring the hands to the floor again, take a toe on the back foot, lift the knee, hips, step it back into down dog. So bringing the feet onto the center line again. When you take your breath in, use the exhale to draw the right knee in towards the chest. We'll take one more breath there. And then slowly move the knee to the outside of your wrist, heel to the groin. Walk it back. And onto the fingertips. Square the hips again. Shoulders roll back. Tailbone down. The more you can leverage your pelvis into a neutral position relative to the ground, i.e. back where it would be if you were standing up straight, the easier it is for you to lift up out of the pigeon. The closer you can get your hands towards you. There's less weight on the wrists and the fingers, like a floaty sensation in the body, pressing a little bit into the inside. And then we'll bring the hands back down again, tuck the toe on the back foot, lift the knee, back into our down dog. Now moving slowly into a plank, I'll bring the knees back down to the floor. Sitting onto the heels, I'm going to take that flat block from the front of the mat, just behind the toes, come into a squat, assisted by the prop. So just tucking the toes under, rolling the heels back. And I'm going to lift my arms on top of the kneecaps there. So apart from maybe being a little bit warm and possibly a little bit out of breath, hopefully everything feels quite nicely warmed up. I'm going to take the hands behind and allow myself to lengthen the legs out in front. I'm going to shift off of the block a little forward and go take the hands out to the back and behind me a little bit. Has the feet parallel forwards. I'm going to come into reverse tabletop. So I'm going to lift the buttocks off the floor first of all. Move the buttocks towards the heels, and that's where I want to try and get my knees over the top of my heels. And then slowly lift the hips up to the height of my knees. I was pressing the shoulders back and extending the crown of the head out towards the end of the mat. Now, if you find that really difficult in the neck, keep your chin in towards your chest. Squeeze the thighs together a little bit and try and press down through the feet evenly. I'll slowly bring the bottom back down to the floor. Slide it back a little bit. Just going to cross the ankles over and wrap the arms now around the shins, around the spine, dropping the head in towards the knees. Releasing again. Take the hands back again. Untangle the feet. Lift the hips. Roll the shoulders back. Move forward that little bit. Make some adjustments. We're coming back up again. Just for 5 breaths. Just hold. We're trying to keep the ears and the shoulders as far apart from each other, so we press down and push up. To make that happen, we press down to the feet a little bit so we can feel the thighs, the hamstrings, and the buttocks involved. We'll take one last breath here. And ease our way back down gently to the floor. Again, we're just going to cross the ankles over, wrap the arms around the shins, drop the head in. And release. I'm going to move back onto the block. Taking the legs out in front, down the center line. I'm going to come into a seated twist. I'm going to bring my left foot under and out towards the right hip, so the knee follows along the center line here. I'm going to bring the right foot across, make sure both sitting bones stay attached to the floor or the block if you're not using one block. We take the left arm up and across and over into the twist. I'm going to take the right hand around and see if I can at least get my fingers to the front edge of the pelvis on the left side. And then we'll release, untangle, go across to the second side. Sit up nice and tall, taking it across, wrapping the arm around, looking towards that back shoulder, just drawing the chest open more and more, working with your breath. And we'll release from there. Take the legs out in front. We're going to do something called a crocodile pose. Sometimes it's called peacock pose, depends on where perhaps you are in the world. We're going to take the left foot in and just ease that across over to the right side. I'm going to take a little breath from there. taking the right hand out. Going to lean over, take hold of the end of the foot. Sometimes it's easier to hold on to the big toe, your choice. I want this hand to be outside of the hip bone. So take a little breath, lean into that arm, breath into the foot that's on the floor, and lift my buttocks and leg off of the ground. So you can come down with the chest as low as you want. You try and get the shoulder back a little bit. You press out through the heel. You can yourself lift it off the ground, that side a little bit. Last breath in. Lift yourself back up onto the block and untangle the legs. We'll take it to the opposite side. So bringing the right foot across. Taking a breath, I'm going to lean out to the side, hook the arm around, and coming onto the inside of that front leg. Take a little breath, lean out to the side, get the bottom to lift. Press one leg into the opposite leg, down into the standing foot. And then lift yourselves back up. So not holding it too long, quite strong on the inner groins. Not to mention a few other parts of the body. We'll tuck the heels in, roll over the knees, up onto all fours. We'll tuck the toes underneath and let myself move back into the squat. And this time I want to make sure that the knees are wide and I'm keeping my body dropped in. So the center of my legs is going to come up into a practice for crow pose. So taking the hands out, about shoulder distance apart, squeeze those thighs and shins onto the back of your arm as high to the armpit as you can. We'll lift the tailbone as we come up. Take a little breath, come onto the tiptoes, take one foot away, and then take the other foot away. You can take both feet away. Just looking for our balance point. Squeezing the heels into the butt. Trying to breathe. Coming back down. And then I sit back onto the block. Legs out in front. We'll take the feet, sorry, the buttocks forward a little bit. I'm going to slide off of the block, have a little wriggle through. I'm going to take the feet in towards the center line, sitting up nice and tall. You want to make sure that you're nice and clear behind you. I'm going to take the index finger and middle finger around the big toe, hooking the feet towards me. So my little toes have come away from the ground now. They're slightly hooked, and I'm going to just wiggle the heels in a little bit more so I can lean back. Keep the spine nice and long. Slowly extend the legs out, and then bring the feet together. Pressing that through the heels, come eventually into our boat pose. Trying to keep the spine nice and long. Trying to squeeze the thighs together a little bit helps. Last breath in. Feet back down to the floor. I'm going to spin the feet out towards the back of the mat. Rolling down onto my belly. You come into Sphinx pose. So just rolling onto the chest. Elbows underneath the shoulders. And turning the thighs inwards a respectable amount. Open that space in my lower back a little bit. Drawing the chest forward, belly drawn in. I'm going to let myself come down to the ground. So just moving the elbows and the hands back. Not too far out of the way. I'm going to roll onto whichever is your favorite side. I just happen to go to my right and bring the knees in and then lift gently back up onto the floor. Going to tuck the toes underneath. Allow myself to walk hands in. Those knees are going wide again. Those knees are up around the back of my armpits. I'm going to come into a second crow. Take a little breath, lean forward, lift the hips high. Find your balance point. Try to lift the feet away from the floor if you feel confident to do. And then bring the feet down. Whew. Move into a down dog. So let's stretch it out gently. And then we're going to come into one last plank. I'm going to take the feet over towards the left, stacking one foot on top of the other. Hand comes high. I'm going to come into the tree pose version of side plank again. Then the leg out and back into the plank. Cross over to the opposite side, stack the feet gently. Find your balance point first, take your time. Draw the foot in carefully. Try not to look at your hands and your feet. You draw yourself into that tree. Keep just looking out to the side. Extend the leg out again. Whew, back into the plank. Knees to the ground. Sitting back onto the heels. Just for a moment. And then slowly going to move the feet towards the front of the mat. So preparing to come into Savasana. I'm going to have the knees high, feet in close. Put the arms out wide. I'm using a scarecrow position for the arms, but you can have the arms out completely to the side, palms up if you have the space available. Move the hips a little over towards my left so that I can let my legs roll over to the right. I'll let them sink all the way down, keeping the shoulders flat to the floor, turning the very lightly opposite direction. And relax out through the shoulders, lower back. And we'll bring the knees back up one leg at a time. Then rolling the hips again over towards the right so the legs can shift to the left. And trying to let those legs be as relaxed as you can. So hopefully warmed up enough for you to be able to just sort of let go. Then in the head a little towards the right. Very soft across the belly. And let it just all relax from the end of your fingers to the tip of your toes. Now bring the legs back up slowly. Realign the body. Bring the hands down by the side of the body, palms up. So for Shavasana, if your back is feeling very tired, you might want to keep the knees high, feet wide, so TPing the legs in. If you feel comfortable enough to extend the legs out fully. We go to the corner edges and the toes roll out. Close the eyes. final little wriggles to adjust, get everything sorted into the right place, and then just allow yourself to be. Starting to bring ourselves back into our bodies, in by breathing deeper and wriggling the fingers and toes. And a little more aware of your body, and then sort of wriggle the wrists into some circles, maybe doing the same with the ankles, getting the breath a little bit more ingrained in the body. We'll take a longer breath and then stretch out in any way that feels good to you. Follow your instinct. And then if you haven't already, we'll slide the heels foot at a time along the floor, so we can draw the knees in towards the body. Taking the hands lightly around the shin, as we always do. Little rock from side to side. We'll take a breath in. And then on an exhale, roll completely to the right side. Letting the legs come down, turn the chest over. Bring the hands underneath. And then use the exhale to lift back up. And coming into an easy sitting posture, wherever that is for you. In that tall position, we'll bring the hands to our heart. Taking a longer breath in and closing the eyes. Begin to slowly exhale, letting the chin drop. And feeling the belly drawn to the spine, allow yourself to follow the bow to the floor, sealing your practice for the evening. Letting the breath come back in. Let it build the spine for you. Let the head rise, eyes open. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed, and see you again on the mat soon.